Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 10 of our 40-day challenge. I wanted to address a couple of questions from yesterday. I'm not going to show any new video today, just answer a couple of questions. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a very specific Q&A for the whole week, but these are pretty simple questions to answer for people. One is the links for the videos that I referenced are in the description of that video. So I put 5 different links from 5 different doctors. These are well-renowned doctors, a cardiologist, a functional medicine doctor. Anyway, check it out. And I did a good job at trying to not just put links where people are just preaching, but they're actually debating, and you can hear them go back and forth a little bit. There are 2 main issues that I made yesterday. And again, you may find this hard to believe, but please, again, understand that I've been making videos for a long time, running seminars for a long time, and I've been kind of talking to the same audience for a very long time. So once again, if you're kind of new to my channel and listening to me for the first time, please understand that I am in general speaking to people that I think have the prerequisite understanding that we've already covered over the years. I promise you, this may be hard for you to believe, but it takes a long time for doctors to catch up on nutritional information. It takes a long time for us to self-correct nutritional things as a country. I mean, classic example, the low-fat diet. And let me just elaborate on this for a minute. As soon as we started going low-fat in the early 80s, by the time we realized what was happening, as soon as we went low fat, what happened? People started to eat more carbs, especially refined carbs, and we realized that people are actually getting sicker, to the tune of the fact that we are now seeing children with type 2 diabetes. This is something that was unheard of before the 1990s. So there's a huge consequence when we say low fat, because you're going to get your macronutrients from somewhere else, meaning carbs or protein, and everybody is going to, most everybody is going to opt for more carbs, not more protein. Now, if we're talking about specific forms of fat now, right? So saturated, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, and I would like to spend a minute going through this. You should be getting about 1/3 of each. Now, there are some genetic polymorphisms that you should be aware of. Again, I've done seminars. So if you go back in my video series, you'll see me do 5, 10, 15-minute videos on various topics. I've done this topic many times in the past. But there are some genetic polymorphisms you should be aware of where people have issues with fat absorption. There's also issues that we've talked about in the past in these video series, that if your stomach acid is bad, if you can't emulsify fats because your gallbladder isn't producing bile because your liver is unhealthy and your pancreas is unhealthy, therefore you can't produce the digestive enzymes to help emulsify fats. If you have gut permeability issues, if you have any type of IBS, Crohn's, diverticulitis, these are all things that could actually hurt the process of you maximizing the absorption of all nutrients, not just your fats, but especially up in the duodenum. So as soon as you swallow your food and it gets into that stomach acid, you want a lot of stomach acid and you want it to be very acidic. As soon as it passes to the duodenum and jejunum, that's where all the magic starts to happen there with the pancreatic enzymes and the bile and the emulsification of fats. In most people, I'm not saying some, most people, especially as you get older, it's a fairly pitiful state of affairs what our digestion is like. So along with genetic polymorphisms, you may have issues digesting fat. But again, I'm saying all this right now, and my larger point wasn't even all this yesterday. My larger point yesterday was the quality of the fats that you're eating. I'll get to red meat in a minute. The quality of fats that you're eating. So there are different forms of saturated fat. There's meaning you can get your saturated fat from different forms. So you can get it from animal fat, literally eating a steak, right? You can get it from milk, you can get it from cheese, you can get it from butter, you can get it from coconut milk, you can get it from dark chocolate. There's all egg yolks, you get the idea. Many different forms. My larger point was, my stomp my foot in the ground point was, if you're getting your food from animal sources, it's got to be organic. It really does. And this will be a separate conversation at another time. So that was really my pound my fist. The second thing that I was pounding my fist about was, the biggest thing we can do is reduce our sugar consumption. So when we reduce our sugar consumption and increase our vegetable and fiber consumption, you're going to see, based on evidence, based on research, that the deleterious effects of saturated fat and red meat are all of the sudden much less consequential. Now, if we're just saying, hey, stop eating saturated fat. Well, to the average American out there who's eating Skittles and Twizzlers and pretzels and Twinkies, yeah, they should probably stop eating really bad forms of saturated fat. But if they can improve the quality of the saturated fat that they're getting, meaning I'd much rather see a person eat organic coconut oil or a dark chocolate, meaning 90% or higher organic dark chocolate bar. I'd rather them eat 2 egg yolks. I'd rather see them eat some lean red meat than to pile into their mouth more Doritos, Oreos, things of this nature. I mean, it's not even close here as far as the health consequence. It's just not even close. Please understand, once again, if you take something away from an American diet, you have to replace it with something else. So if a person normally eats 3,000 calories a day and you're taking away 500 calories of saturated fat, for example, they're going to replace it with what? You think they're going to go, cook up more protein? No, they're going to go munch on cereal, right? That's the point. Now, again, the longitudinal research, if you listen to the 5 videos and if you want more and more and more, I can keep sending it. But at this point, the debate about saturated fat is it's just off the table. It takes a long time for information to get out into the public from longitudinal studies. It's disgusting. I mean, we've known about the effects of a low-fat diet and what it was doing since the mid-90s, and we didn't do anything about it for over a decade after that. So at this point, what was talked about with saturated fat is old news, and it's still not off the table. But people in the know that it needs to come off the table, because what I'm describing to you is the actual conversation that you should understand in the bigger context here. That saturated fat, good quality forms and sources of saturated fat are much, much, much more important for you and much healthier for you than what you're going to replace it with, which is refined, crappy forms of carbs, okay? And what saturated fat is doing for your body in general is extremely important and extremely beneficial. Again, so you have saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and polyunsaturated fat. Most people need about 1/3 of each. But then if you listen to the second video in the description, you're going to hear a debate, and this person's talking about, saturated fat, like he's in that old school, that old camp of, saturated fat's bad for you. What we really need to do is increase mono and polyunsaturated fat. Well, guys, I got news for you, because again, the latest research now is showing that these PUFAs, these polyunsaturated fats, okay, it's great if you're getting it from, your omega-3s from fish. But you know what's really bad is seed oils, everybody. Seed oils are also PUFAs, okay? Those are polyunsaturated fats. And look at the research now that's talking about the deleterious consequences of having too many seed oils, okay? Which 10 years ago, we thought were great for you. They're just not anymore. Guys, I promise you will be shocked at how misinformed so many doctors are about nutrition. And there's reasons for that, because they get about 2 hours of education in nutrition and about an hour of supplementation in their medical training. I am not kidding. It's mostly big pharma education. Now, if you want to listen to a doctor that's functional medicine doctor, great, because they're going to know their stuff. And that's what I'm trying to reflect to you guys, this type of information where we can look at the bigger picture and not just talk about statins. Because you'll also hear in that second video a lot of talk about statins, and this person is trying to defend statins, and the person interviewing these two individuals gives them about 30 seconds to defend their point of view. I mean, these are the types of conversations that I just can't stand. I can't stand it. So again, like, when we're talking about statins to lower cholesterol, this is tantamount, to there's a fire burning in your kitchen, right? And I am trying to explain to you, hey, listen, what you need to do is, shut the windows so that the air doesn't come through and spread the fire around. And then you need to get low on the floor and cover yourself with a blanket. And then you need to, go into the bathroom and splash some water on you. How about you just go to the source of the fire and put it out? Brilliant. See, again, some people have genetic polymorphisms for high cholesterol, okay? However, that's not most people. Most people should look at why is your cholesterol high, and also understand, this is the bigger point here, is that your body is responding to something that's raising your cholesterol. Your body is responding. It's like literally sending the firefighters. That's the cholesterol. It's raising the LDL, okay, to respond to the problem. So the conversation should revolve around, well, how do we solve the problem? So we should talk about things like the effects of increasing your fiber, the effects of decreasing highly refined carbs, right? There's a whole conversation we can have here. My point is about how we can effectively reduce your LDL instead of pounding statins down your throat, because there is a consequence to statin use. And we've talked about this in the past many times. So my point is that we should be getting to the heart of the problem. We should be asking better questions here. Now, when it comes to red meat, there was a person in the comments section said, hey, you should look at the Adventist study. It's I'm very familiar with it. I've talked about it in the past. I've put links to Joe Rogan's podcast where Chris Kresser is debating Joel, what the heck is his last name? I can't remember. It's a long debate. I've literally listened to that debate all the way through 3 times and checked their research over and over again. If you're unfamiliar, guys, like, I'm the type of person that when I'm into something, I'm really into it. So if I'm competing for weightlifting, I'm going to go and I'm going to train my ass off, right? If I'm doing a fast, I'm going to fast all 4 days. If I'm doing a 40-day challenge, I'm locked in. Whatever I'm doing it. I'm reading it. I take what I do very, very, very seriously. I'm very nerdy. I'm very geeky. I'm listening to stuff and reading stuff all of the time. So I am extremely familiar with the Adventist study. I will put a link in this video, a description to this argument about red meat in particular with Chris Kresser and Joel Kahn. Joel Kahn is his name. Where Kahn is arguing against red meat and Chris Kresser is arguing for it. And you'll hear the Adventist study get brought up and you'll hear the problems with that study. But in general, you could probably think of your own reasons why this would be a biased study. And even though they don't get into it much in the Joe Rogan debate, because it's just not the focus of it, I just want you guys to step back and say, is there possibly a bias with a very, very large religious group that's vegetarian? Does that immediately map on to the rest of the population? I want you guys to think about all of the things that I have asked you to do in the 40-day challenge, right? As part of the challenge. You get up, you do some breath work, you do some meditation, you do some exercise, you eat a particular way, you go to bed at a particular time, right? So there's a de-stressing component, there's a breathing component, there's an exercise component, there's a sleep component. Now, if you're a Seventh-day Adventist, I promise you, you're very religious. What does that mean? It means that you see your body as a temple. It means that you see your body in a very particular way. So what do you think their stress levels are as a community compared to the average? How do you think they're treating their body as opposed to the average? So there's a whole bunch of things that we need to ask questions about before we start assigning all of the health benefits. And again, the issue here is, what else are they not doing? So it's what are they doing, but what else are they not doing that the average population isn't doing or is doing? So it's not just a function of, well, they're vegetarian. Because we can quickly assign, the greatest NFL players, NBA players, soccer players, baseball players. I could, put them in their underwear in front of you and say, look at these specimens. They're all carnivores. Go ahead, go check their blood work. Outstanding. Okay, but that's not representative. It's a representative of a particular population. It's called professional athletes, right? And they hold particular things very important in their mind, namely their body. So the point is that there are other issues with the Adventist study. I'm just making the point that as soon as you assign something to be important for the health of your body, which is a temple, you'd be shocked at how the domino effect occurs where everything else starts to become better in your body as well. Something as simple as sitting down and taking the time to breathe every single morning tells you something subliminally, that you take yourself seriously. I'm not kidding. You're sitting down to take yourself seriously to improve. Well, similarly, the Adventists take what they're doing seriously, vegetarianism being one of them. And that is a reflection of how they see their whole body. And therefore, they'll reap the benefit of that health. What I'm asking you guys to do is all up here and look for yourself at your blood work. And then decide for yourself if what I'm saying is truth or fiction. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.